because these signposts, I feel like, help to supplement the Mesa, because we're kind of finding the same thing, that it's, I don't know, I feel like it's not concrete. It doesn't go into that skill enough, and I got wonderful conversations.
What grade level did you have?
Fourth.
But that's how I felt with the first graders.
Yeah.
They can produce it.
Yeah.
They maybe can't write it, but
Right.
even your children who are not the top of the class, those lower level
Yeah.
ones, they are the ones who have a lot of questions,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And just like the word, like I said, possessions was in here, but also the word route was in here.
Yeah.
And what did good luck charms mean? Why would she have good luck charms in her pocket? You know, it gets them thinking about these things, and it was just like, they loved it today, you know? This was good, they really liked it, so I
Well,
was
and
pleased.
this is getting to, so at the end of a reading, what are you thinking?
Right, they are thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what
Where's
we're
your
looking for.
understanding?
Yeah.
So some other experiences with the signposts.
I did the same lesson, the shared context and contradictions, and I had a few kids tell me that they had noticed that in reading before, that maybe they come across something strange that they really usually haven't done before, and they were excited that there's a name for it. You know? And so,
Again.
yeah, they liked that there was a name for it, and now it's something we can all identify with and all work through together. So, yeah, having a name, when there was kind of speaking to that too, just now they realize that there's something that has a name, and we can be all together now, and we're excited about that.
You know, I think that was one of the big ahas when we did this with our LCN group a year ago, is that it made some of these very abstract concepts real. And it gave them tools on how to make them, how to bring them into their understanding.
Yeah, not just to skim across and say, oh, that was weird, that character did something strange, but just stop then and ask yourself, why did the character do that? We kind of that question sometimes, but once they hear it that many times, it really starts to sink in, and they can dive in deeper and stop and think. And a lot of kids tend to just read, just, like I said, just go, and don't stop to think. And so this is the forces on do that. Helpful, very helpful tools.
We've been using the Cinderella books and different ones to do a really deep compare and contrast of the different kinds and stuff. And so as we were using the signposting and really looking at the comparing and finding those odd, it was interesting as the kids would say, well, you know, in this one, don't you find it odd that everybody at Place House, she's expecting a fairy godmother to come or somebody else to do it for her. But in this one, she's like, hey, I'm doing it for myself. I'm gonna take care of myself. I don't need somebody to take care of me. And so they were just noticing those, you know, things that a lot of people probably would have just kind of kept on going. And I do think they look at things a bit deeper once you start doing that. I was reading a book kind of just for the fun. It was the first read, and I was gonna come back to it. And The Quiltmaker's Gift is probably is one of my favorite books. And I was starting to read it, and I kind of went to turn the page, and all of a sudden I've got hands, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, we have to discuss what just happened, because look, that's kind of really, and they like did not want me, even though it was the first read and they'd never heard this story, they wanted to stop and talk about that page before we went on to the next thing. So I think we got them in a whole new mode of thinking, that they're not, they don't want to just read through it, you know, and I was kind of thinking we were just gonna read through this book for the first time before we went to gym. That was kind of my plan. That wasn't the plan that I had. So, and that was, you know, that's really good, but they had a lot of thinking to do, and the words were just kind of powerful, and, yeah. So I think that's great that we kind of train them and change their way of doing things.
It's kind of like that backstory. If you know the backstory, something is more meaningful, and I think that's what that is doing, you know?
Right, right.
How does something get its name, a title, you know? How does the building get its name? Well, this is what happened that led up to this, you know? And
I'm doing fairy tales and folk, the whole traditional literature right now too, and it's real interesting because we're kind of finishing the fairy tales and jumping into the folk tales, but we have to kind of sometimes put a little bit of both in. We did the Jack and the Beanstalk, the different ones.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, it's so much fun to watch them, you know, do the comparison and to figure it all out. But, I have a good read aloud that you're gonna wanna do, because it's called Rump. I never had heard of it before. A couple times you have to kind of skim over a couple little things that they have in it, but, every day they were just begging for that book. And it's all about Rumpelstiltskin, and, you know, the kids call him Butch. I mean, I never thought about Rumpelstiltskin romping, you know, sitting on his, you know. Yeah, and it's just the high kids really get it. And then today at that end, we finished the book today, because they're just like, you gotta finish. And then we read the Rumpelstiltskin, and they're all like, oh, that's how we remember it. You know, because this is a totally different, with Red as his friend, and there's trolls, and it has all the elements. And for them to, you know, you're saying things like whirl, and they're like threes, you gotta have 3s or 7s in a fairy tale. You know?
Yep.
And they identify all of those, and then I've seen it transpose into their writing. So unbelievable things with it.
Right
Yeah,
now.
well, we're doing
And,
fractured fairy tales, and oh my goodness,
And what
folk
grade are
tales.
you?
4th grade. They have a choice, because some of the boys don't. I do fractured fairy tales or a folk tale.
Well, I did not know this, but although I have to say, in the 3 years that I've done fairy tales, I've never had a boy complain about them. But this year I discovered there is an Irish Cinder lad. And let me tell you, there was quite the contrast that came out of the book between the girl and the boy. And, I mean, and it's a great story, but, yeah, it was interesting, because our reading series started with a story called The Pancake, and which is a very similar to the gingerbread boy. And then we read like 4 different
Yeah,
gingerbread
yeah,
versions.
I will go through
last
tomorrow,
week.
yeah.
And so we were kind of moving through that, and it's just, we read The Runaway Radish, and then probably the funniest one that I never had heard of before is called Stop That Pickle. And there's a sandwich chasing after it, and a pretzel, and all these things that would be really good with a pickle. I mean, it's hysterical. They were rolling on the floor. It was so funny. So, yeah, but it's just been really good for them to kind of, you know, do a lot of the thinking and.
But what I found in the last couple of years is these kids have no idea something about any traditional literature. Other than fables. They'll know about fables because that was 3rd grade. But, you know, and legends. But they have no idea what a fairy tale is and what it has to have. And, you know, and I learned that back, 38 years ago
Well, we
when
used
I
to
was in
read,
college.
fairy tales used to be read to kids, and I have a lot of kids that
Yes.
have never heard
Yes.
of them
What
before.
I found though is the kids that know them are the boys that have little sisters.
Oh.
And they've been reading them to them.
The boys reading into the sisters, or the
Little
sisters
sisters,
reading into the boys?
The little sisters, they're having them read them to their little sisters. It's very interesting, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for sharing, and we'll head back.